Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of the Educational Leadership Podcast. We have another very special guest. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to education in the form of a free gift. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. Okay, today we have Superintendent Sims from Arlington Classics Academy. Superintendent Sims, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So just so our listeners get to know you a little bit, could you share a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. I've been in education about 24 years. I started out as a high school teacher in an ISD in just south of Dallas, Fort Worth area. Did that for about 8 years. Just found my passion and loved it. And just as the demands of a small district grew and grew, I got to experience many different roles. I've played everything from secretary to um, secretary teacher. I think I've sponsored just about every group you can sponsor, served on every committee you can serve on, and then got to move into administration through district technology and career and technical education. And from there, just had a great superintendent who gave me lots of latitude to try to do great things for kids. So I ended up as director of curriculum and special programs. I've spent most of my administrative experience doing special programs, curriculum instruction, um, yeah, technology initiatives, all that kind of stuff. So I moved over to the charter world in 2013, hoping for just that glimmer of hope of freedom, as they always told me charters have. But I found typically, as I moved over, that it really isn't about freedom. It was just more about more scrutiny and accountability. But we were able to do some great things that I'm excited to get to tell you about. But Arlington Classics Academy has been here for 25 years, serving the Arlington area. We just celebrated our 25th year. It was founded in 1999 by parents, for parents, as just a way to have an alternative to back then what was just more of a pipeline education system. And parents just wanted some type of alternative where they had, a smaller system with a lower hierarchy and more voice. And those parents have made it work for 25 years. And we've grown from our original 350 to 400 kids back then to now 1,500 kids, representing 1,000 families. We're K through 8 school, college preparatory with a classical approach. And yeah, I can't wait to tell you some great things that's going on there.
Yeah, I love it. And so are all the students in person? Are they virtual, or is it a hybrid or?
We're all in person and have been the whole time, even through COVID. Except for the part where we had to be virtual for a short time. Uh, One of the greatest things I think about ACA is we're very nimble. So even during COVID closure, we got the word at spring break. I think our teachers were back on the job that first Monday, even though it was remotely. And we took that week to kind of set everything up the best we could, get everyone onto Zoom, do some trainings, shift things over. And at least in our area, we were one of the first schools with students back in front of teachers 2 weeks after the closure. So we were
Ver-
very excited to see that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, good thing we're past all that. And
Oh my gosh, yes. Never want to go through that again.
yeah, that was brutal. Well, um, curious. So school choice comes up a lot on the podcast, right? And yeah, I know there's things that I don't understand all of it, but I know from what I've heard, there's some debate and conversations around school choice or not school choice. We've heard some public schools talk about it. Kind of curious what your perspective is on that.
I came to charter because I'm an advocate for school choice. I mean, my world before education was business. I was a marketing director for a small company. And I believe in choice. I think choice makes us all better. When we have a voice in what we're doing, we tend to put more into it. And I don't think education, whether you're talking private, public, um, education in general just doesn't work unless you invest into it, right? You get out of it what you put in. Um, and so I would, I have to say I'm an advocate for school choice. I think the debate needs clarity, right? So it's not just about school choice. Texas has had school choice my entire life anyway. My children all got to participate in that school choice. My wife and I are both educators. We wanted them to kind of pick what area they were interested in, and they got to choose to go to schools that they thought met their interests. And so a couple of them, we did homeschool for a while, we did co-op for a while, we did public school for a while based on their interests. And all of them graduated from um, a different choice, right? So two are going to end up graduating from public school, high schools, and one stayed in a classical conversations model homeschool co-op, and it was great. Um, but then really the debate is about uh, how people should spend public dollars, and that's really a public choice as well. So, but I think when parents are given the choice and the voice, and they're going to invest more in their child's education. And that really, as we know through research, is one of the biggest differentiators for those that are more successful. Um, so I think choice is definitely a good thing.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. It comes up a lot. So, and we have a lot of public schools on here. We don't have as many charter schools, so it's great to hear your perspective on it. Very good. And you made a good point, right? So, if reading between the lines, kind of what seems like you're saying to a certain extent is every situation is a little bit different. Um, I know when we meet with different public schools, like there's some really great schools out there, and but they're doing things differently, right? So, and I imagine that's the same way in the charter world, where it's like, okay, some schools are better than others. Just because they're called something doesn't mean that that's a good or a bad school. And the same way with homeschooling, like some situations it may work and some it might not work too well. Um, so it's kind of interesting how people are quick to put, certain categories in certain buckets, while they're all really unique in themselves. So appreciate you sharing your perspective on it. Curious, what are you passionate about in education these days?
You know, um, I moved over to education from the business world because I was in marketing, and we you can get good at your job, but then you start to wonder what the long-term outcomes are of your efforts, right? So um, when you start to spend your day getting to invest in other people and changing their life in a positive way, you sure feel a whole lot better about the energy you've spent. And so when I was able to move over to education, basically teaching marketing and computers and stuff when I first started, um, I just saw the ability to um, invest in, support, hold up, unveil sometimes for people of what the opportunities that are out there. That's what I loved about career and tech ed is the state of Texas has invested a lot of money in career and tech ed and giving high schoolers a safe place to land as they're exploring careers, right? And so, I mean, how scary was that for us when I was going through high school? I'm a first generation college graduate, and I just knew I needed to go to college at the time, but at the same time, I didn't get to explore careers that much. You might have had one career exploration class, at least at my school. I come from a very small town, so um, you do what your parents did because that's what you knew. And so education now, especially in Texas, the education landscape in Texas is really a beautiful thing. I know there's a lot of negative energy negative media out there about it. But when you really start to explore public schools, whether it's an ISD, a charter, even some of the private school opportunities out there, Texas law has given us great freedom in providing so many different avenues for students to get an education. Many thanks to the fact that it's not overly restrictive when it comes to things like innovative solutions. Now, then when you start publicly funding those schools, so you're taking state tax dollars or local tax dollars, which charter schools only receive state tax dollars, and state revenue we know only comes from essentially sales tax and their other funds, while ISDs receive state funds and local tax dollars, right? So charters are only funded by the state. They don't receive anything from local tax revenue, just to make that clear. So when you start publicly funding that, then you end up, let me show you, like, I don't know if my filter will let you see this, but you see how thick this is?
Yep.
This is the, oh, this is not gonna work on your podcast, sorry, Texas School Law Bulletin. So we get one of these after every session. All the superintendents get it. And this is every legislative code in Texas, whether it is a public education code, it can be the health code, it can be penal code, government code, local government code. Anyway, this is what applies to us when we start to receive public funds. And so really, you kind of hit it on the head when you said that every school can approach it a little bit differently, because every locally governed school gets to decide how to filter through all of that to provide and meet the needs of the students. So innovative programs like career and tech ed, high school, I'm sorry, early college high school programs where students are basically earning their two-year degree before their associate's degree before they even leave high school. Dual credit programs or AP programs, like, man, it is the Texas public education landscape is amazing when you really start to see, which is what I loved about your invitation on the podcast, is that you're highlighting the amazing things that these schools are doing. And these schools are run, public ISDs are run by an elected board, charters are run by a nonprofit board. My board specifically is made up of parents or former parents, people who've gone completely through our school, who are very passionate and love our school. And so we just had this amazing opportunity to open kids up to a hope that maybe they would not have been exposed to had they just kind of stayed in their own little world, right? So yeah, I mean, we have kids all the time coming up through our programs. Our even though we're K through 8, we offer intro to business, entrepreneurship, robotics. We offer when we have the available space in our schedule, we offer things like rocket science, and this year we offered forensics, just as a way to explore interests. And by doing it before they turn 18 or before they even go off to high school, they're getting to really see, am I interested in this or not? Is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? Before they go and invest all the money in possibly getting a degree that they don't end up in a career with that degree, right? So I think to go back to your original question about why education, why are we doing this? It's, to me, education is hope. You're giving them a broader view of what is all available to them. And I think that's an amazing thing to get to do.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's not recognized and appreciated like it should be. Generally speaking, I guess it's like anything, people look for flaws in certain things versus, the 99% of the amazing things happening. Um, Very good. I know we're running short on time. I was curious though, what's on the horizon over the next year to 5 years for your school? Anything exciting happening coming up?
Well, we're very excited. We just received our permit for our band hall at
Oh,
our middle
nice.
school campus. So um, ACA so ACA middle school, or our whole K through 8 program is compacted to where if you sign up for ACA, you're going to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and you also have opportunity to take several other high school courses for credit, uh, including some CTE courses, speech, and things of that nature. And the reason we do that is because we want their high school schedule to open up and really allow them to explore all those different things, whether it's dual credit, AP courses, which is something we really push our kids into, and of course, all those wonderful career and tech programs that are out there to give kids exposure to those things. So fine arts is huge in our school, being a classical school. So band, choir, we have award-winning band, choir, now award-winning theater arts program. We have just converted a space into a black box theater, and they had their first production last week. That goes all the way down to 6th grade. And I really think the value of a school like ACA, where we're a smaller community school, I'm sorry, not community school, but a smaller community within a larger area, being right here in the middle of DFW, is, as I said, we're nimble. So we had an 8th grade graduate who went on to high school, and she had taken Algebra 1 with us and earned her credit. And on her own, she just decided to see if she could study and take the geometry credit by exam. And so she decided that was a great experience for her, and she wanted other people to have that experience. So she came back, and for the last 4 years has been hosting a club that we call Geometry, where she's basically guiding independent students, 8th graders that are already taking Algebra 1, some taking Biology 1. They're already in high school advanced courses in 8th grade, and they're electing themselves. So I think it's about 15% of the class. About 28 students are electing themselves to join after school and to study geometry and see if they can earn the credit. And not just, the end goal is not the credit. The end goal is the experience of learning how to learn on your own, right? And so, these kids are, I know some of these kids just won cross country state. These kids are in the theater productions. They're in the choir. Just saw another one sing in the choir the other day, and they're in this geometry club, doing this great stuff. And we have a very active youth and government club where students are just exploring what it means to serve as a public figure. And the thing is, when we get enough students interested in something, we try to make it happen, and it grows, and they go down to state, and they get to shine on these stages that sometimes, you know, when you're in a high school of 3,000 people in some of these systems, it's just too easy to hide in the shadows, right? And so that's really what I love about ACA is between parents who show up to support, between our staff who do amazing stuff, obviously volunteering a lot of time outside of their work hours, and then these kids that just want to try something, creating that safe space where they can have a soft landing to try now and kind of build that life skill. That's really an amazing thing that's happening here.
Yeah, yeah, man, you guys have a lot going on, a lot of exciting things going on, and yeah, having that space to try things, and I think as adults we need we need to try things a little more too, and expand our horizons, and maybe it's just how we look at the world a little bit, but um, well, awesome. Well, so we're at time. We're gonna close out. Any last thoughts before we close out the podcast?
Not necessarily. I think if we're doing it, I think we need to celebrate the good things happening in public ed. I mentioned all of our kids take Algebra 1, and I mean all. SPED kids, ESL kids, like any label, doesn't matter. We want you to try it. We're going to support you. We're going to show you can do things that you didn't know that you could do. And, very few times does a parent come in and opt a child out of that. But generally speaking, almost 100% of our kids are taking on those challenges and learning through it. And I just I think with all the negative media, it makes people really hesitant to try to step outside and do something, whether you call it different or just something meaningful. But I think through podcasts like yours, we got to bring attention to those good things so that people want to do more of those good things because they don't happen without a lot of work.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the old adage, if you look for something bad, you're gonna find it. If you look for something good, you're gonna find it as well. And if
Mhm.
people look for the good that's happening, there's a lot more of that going on. So
Oh,
um,
absolutely. Absolutely.
well, thank you so much. For those that have been tuning in, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor one last time before we close out. Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to education. If your district needs unrestricted funds for higher teacher salaries or whatever it may need, reach out to Ideal Impact. And for those that have been tuning in, stay tuned for future episodes of the Educational Leadership Podcast.